Okay, I think we're live.
Yep, I can see
Cool,
it on
cool,
my
cool.
phone.
Cool. I don't know why it's not connecting on LinkedIn. Anyway, so welcome everybody to today's live session. My name is Nancy Masila and I'm the founder of Jessary Network. And in today's podcast, we have somebody who sort of embodies the resilience and the grit, experimentation, and community driven growth. Lemuel Abishua. So, Lemuel is the founder of General Circle, Faith Foundry, and Africa Product Peers. His journey is anything but conventional. So after being rejected by Antler Entrepreneur in Residence program back in 2023, he didn't wait around for funding or like a technical co-founder. He built and pitched prototypes and using no code tools, tapped into his networks and moved forward anyway. And before all that, Lemuel has a really interesting background. So he studied law at university, worked in product management at ALX Africa, and eventually made the leap into full time entrepreneurship. And today we're going to be exploring sort of like how he made the transition from low to tech and why prototypes sort of became his superpower and what a scrappy building looks like on the African continent. And also, I'll try and get him to sort of talk about Jesus Tech, which is a very interesting concept. Um, currently that he's doing. But yeah, welcome to the session, Lemuel. How are you?
I'm fine, Nancy. Thank you so much for having me, and hello, everyone.
Amazing. So where are you tuning in from?
I'm dialing in live from Nairobi. I'm inside center at the rooftop area. It's a sunny, beautiful sunny day here in Nairobi.
So
Where are you
jealous,
dialing in from,
man.
Nancy?
I'm tuning in from London. It's supposed to be summer, but it doesn't look summer at all. So it's just like, wow, you know. But anyway,
Yeah.
so today should be a really interesting conversation. I really do think there's a lot that needs to be done around like the way you're calling it Jesus Tech and the innovation and even whether investments is going into it. But before we start, we have a quick fire round of question. Five, just five quick ones, and I'll
All
give it a
right,
go.
let's go.
Yeah. So, what's one prototype every aspiring founder should try to build this year?
I I love prototypes, as you
Okay.
know. So prototyping is essentially, for context, the one of the steps in the design thinking process.
Yeah.
So after you've empathized with your potential customer, you define the problem statement that you're trying to solve uh, for and the solution hypothesis for this, and then your prototype is essentially like a mock-up or a visual way of seeing what the potential solution would be.
Yeah.
And I think one of the prototypes that every founder should build
Mm-hmm.
is a landing page. A landing page
Mm,
where you're able to collect information from your potential customers,
yeah.
visualize to them what the potential like solution would look like,
Yeah.
and the insight you get from that is people who are interested.
No, that's a really good point. A landing page, a way to collect people's emails so that you're able to reach out to them. And
Exactly,
I think
exactly.
everybody should be able to own their customer data. So, like something, either a newsletter or something, because you want to be able to reach out directly to these people. Okay, second question. What's one mistake early stage founders keep repeating?
Ooh, there's so many,
Yeah,
and you can tell you can tell a newbie in in building.
yeah,
I'm thinking of two.
yeah.
One is the legal. I see a
Mm,
lot of people who are worried about things like um, NDAs. Oh, before I talk to potential investors, should I use an NDA?
yeah,
And I keep telling people like that's the least of your problems. You don't even know if people want this solution.
yeah.
And to sell it, you need to make noise about it, right? So
Yes.
you can tell when someone hasn't really thought about like things like marketing, for example,
Mm,
because they're trying to hold on to the idea.
yeah,
And then when you're trying to sell it, you have the opposite problem. You want everyone to know.
yeah.
And then the second one is trying to make a sale. a lot of people try and get users and like hold off on monetization. You can tell a
Mm-hmm.
second or third time founder when they're like, I just want money upfront.
You're like, can I get money? Like, even sometimes you don't even have a product. You're like, I'm doing pre-sales, I'm doing pre-orders, I'm doing commitments before I even launch
Yep,
anything. So I respect that.
revenue.
I think a little bit about the NDAs because you have a legal background. I think it's still valid
Yeah,
to some extent. Again, depending on the product or depending on the solution you're sort of providing, because there have been instances where IPs have been, for lack of a better word, stolen. So it's still a valid concern. No?
I I think the reality is the proof is in the pudding of execution.
Mm,
Any founder that has raised money, for example,
yeah.
like you'll find on Tech Cabal's announcements
Yeah.
some of the key value propositions that
Mm-hmm.
led to this team raising, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not a secret
Yeah.
what is the special sauce behind some of the most successful startups in the ecosystem, like M-Copper,
Yeah.
right? And so, I mean, don't get me wrong, there is intellectual property that you need to protect. But
Mm-hmm.
if you're talking about moving from 0 to 1, guys,
Yeah.
it's really, really about execution. So you're gonna end up having to tell a lot of people about this thing to sell
Yeah.
it, to
Yeah.
raise money. And so it's not a good use of time to start thinking about NDAs. It's gonna A lot of VCs will write you off if you start
Mm.
the conversation that way. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Another question. Building solo or building with a co-founder?
Building with a co-founder.
I
That's
agree.
simple.
I agree. Like being a solo founder is gangster stuff.
Yeah. And I think I tried it. I've been a solo founder before.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
I think like the Bible says, finding a wife is a good thing. I think there should be a new verse. Finding a co-founder is a good thing. Like building building alone is hard, guys. And don't rush into it the same way you
Yeah.
wouldn't rush into finding a spouse. Like
Yeah.
you need to be
It's a
intentional. You need to have
marriage.
complementary skills. It is.
It's a
It
marriage
is.
and in all ways, like legally, emotionally, financially, because you're living
Yeah.
on each other. And depending
You
on the
spend
type of
so much time
co-founder you
together.
get, like is it 50-50 especially. And if you when once you get into it, getting out of it, you will need lawyers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
A divorce.
Or you walk away, pack your bags and leave. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Cool, cool, cool. Another question. The one AI tool you think is underhyped right now? What are people not talking
Gemini.
about enough?
Gemini.
Okay.
Gemini. Gemini started off the year rocky. If you've used
Mm,
it before, you know that it wasn't good.
mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, it still has some kinks to iron out,
Yeah.
but they've really improved it, and they've
Okay.
started to like really show their strengths as Google.
But is it a case of them not doing enough marketing, or what's the issue? If they have such a superior sort of product, why is the traction or uptake not as good as other AI tools?
I think it's just users are fickle, and
Mm,
if you sort of like use a product once and it's not good, a lot of
yeah.
people don't give you that second shot. And
True.
ChatGPT has been a lot more consistent. That
Yeah.
said, even Sam Altman was gone on record recently talking about how users shouldn't like give up on these models, like
Mm,
based off the first touch points, the experiences from those first touch points.
yeah.
Keep checking back. Like Gemini is, OpenAI is about to launch 5.0 in August. It's gonna
Mm,
be way better.
mm.
Gemini keeps on releasing, so keep checking back is what I would tell people.
Okay, makes sense. And what about the most overhyped AI tool?
That's a good one. Um,
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT is good,
I
and
know, I
recently we
like
saw that.
it. I
Yeah, we saw that. Did you see that Kenya is the highest user of ChatGPT in the world?
Yeah, yeah, but also they
It's
used
crazy.
Kenyans. A lot of like when they were building the model as
The
well.
models.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was like based out of Kenya. So I don't know. I don't know. But why do you think we're kind of like the top users of ChatGPT? Why so?
It's interesting. I think Kenya has a lot of we're leaders in technology adoption in many
True.
ways, like in
Yeah.
TikTok, in even in crypto with Binance. Like Kenyans are among the most frequent users of
Yeah.
crypto exchange.
Yeah.
So I think generally there's high technology adoption. I
Yeah.
think ChatGPT has done a good job of simplifying its usage.
Mm,
Like there's so many interesting and unique ways people could use
yeah.
it, but
Yeah.
it's so simple in the way to get started compared
Yeah.
to some of these other ChatGPT wrappers.
Yeah.
So I think Kenya just rallied really well around it.
True, true. So technological advance uptake and also very youthful population, right? And high levels of
Yeah, yeah,
education. Cool.
yeah.
Amazing. I think that's mainly it really in terms of the quick fire questions. Oh wait, I have two more actually. So one
Okay, let's go.
advice you ignored earlier but now realize was right.
I think the one I said about revenue. I
Yeah.
think I was the founder. I was in my newbie phase. I was the founder trying to get users and like
Yeah.
hold off on collecting payments.
Mm,
And I should have listened to the
yeah.
veterans. Just
Mm,
start making collecting payments from the get
yeah.
go.
Yeah, even if it's one
Yeah,
or two people, because paying clients, paying customers mean that they really, really do value your product or your service, right?
and that's the beauty of being an unfounded founder. It's like
Mm,
you care about revenue much faster. And
mm,
so if you get a check, if you get an investment, then you're
mm,
like, no, let's build the product, let's get
mm,
users. We'll think
mm,
about monetization in Series A. But
mm,
if you're bootstrapping,
mm.
you care about money from day one. And I
Yeah,
think that helps you innovate a lot better.
yeah, yeah. Okay, makes sense. Last question. What's more stressful, raising funds or customer acquisition? Okay,
Raising
so
funds.
raising funds is more stressful, really.
Yeah, I think
Mm,
customer acquisition is not difficult.
yeah.
I think um, telling a story to investors is not fun. I
Mm,
find sales fun. I
okay.
think fundraising is not as fun for me.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I think that's it for the quick fire round. And now we can sort of like now discuss the your journey honestly into sort of how you've built these three amazing ventures. And I want us to start off with your background from law to tech. You went to uni and did law, and then somehow ended up in tech. So walk us through like that transition. How did you make that move? And do you look back and think maybe you should have just explored law more?
Yeah, I loved studying law.
Mm-hmm.
I had a chance to also work at some really great law firms, in the
Mm-hmm.
continent,
Mm-hmm.
Anjawala and Kana, and Bowman's, and I
For
think that
people
was
who might
helpful for
not know
me.
Angela Lankana, like maybe expound a little bit more.
Yeah, so it's one of the top ranked law firms on the continent.
Mm-hmm.
It's won African Law Firm of the Year several times. And so yeah, I got to work with the brightest legal minds in Africa when I was
Mm-hmm.
there, and I think that was helpful for me in sort of like forecasting, like
Yeah.
what would a career here look like all the way to partner.
Yeah.
And my intention initially in exploring tech was to just try it out.
Yeah.
I my curiosity was sparked after doing some programs by schools like Harvard Business School. They had summer programs for folks in the global south, and I did one of those, and it got me thinking about my career in a different way. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when you study law, there are some limitations in terms of where you can practice and what.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a very linear path as well. It's like you go all the way from associate to partner, and I wanted after graduating and doing that program by HBS to see what else a career as a problem solver with a more generalist skill set could look like.
Yeah.
And so I gave myself a year, and I was like, let me try this startup thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I got lucky. I got recruited into a startup that had a moonshot mission, which was important to me. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, if I'm gonna transition, I
Yeah.
want to keep the best of my legal experience, which is like still working with smart people with an ambitious goal. And
Yeah.
so I got to do that. I was recruited into a team by consultants, like management consultants. And so they were like, we don't really care about your background. We just want smart people who
Yeah.
can do a bunch of different things. And so
Yeah.
every 3 months,
Yeah.
I was like transitioning from sales to marketing to
Mm,
strategy to
mm,
all sorts of work streams. And that was really helpful for me because I got to sample a little bit of everything in the startup space.
yeah.
And as that was happening, I started to like crystallize my goal, which was like,
Mhm.
I want to be a founder. I want to do what this organization is doing, but in like a problem space that I'll figure out later on. And I got to start building that acumen around building a venture, doing it in an ambitious way, working with really smart teams, and
Mm.
figuring out which problems I want to solve on the continent. So
Okay.
that
I
was
mean,
the transition into tech.
that makes sense. I think the idea of exploring, and I think a lot of this consulting firms, legal firms, they attract some of the best minds out there. And the thing about good talent is they love exploring things. They love seeing what else are they able to do, and because they're so talented, just being able to explore and learn the learning curve is something that they love in terms of like a good challenge. So it's good to hear
100%.
your story, and I think you've touched a little bit about also your time as a product manager, and now getting into entrepreneurship. But take us back a little bit to not making the jump, applying to the entrepreneur in residence at Antler, getting rejected, and how like what's the time span, how did things go, and how did you get to where you are now, where you're a startup founder and running these ventures?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of intentionality involved,
Mm,
and so I owe appreciation to some mentors in my journey. Like I remember sitting down with the VP of legal at ALX. He
okay.
really wanted me to join his team, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no, I've done this law thing. I wanna try something else. And so he sat me down and he was like, okay, where do you wanna be in 5 years? And so we mapped it out, and that was the starting point for me in intentionally articulating the path I wanted to be on. And so I wrote down during that meeting that at some point I want to work as a product manager.
Mm-hmm.
That happened. And I said I'm working towards becoming an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
And in between that, I want to do an MBA at like an Ivy League school,
Yeah.
and then potentially eventually become a VC and or some other play some other role in supporting entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And so I think that was really important,
Mm-hmm.
writing it down and articulating that path and even praying about it and saying, God, this is what I want to do in my career,
Yeah.
make it happen. And so I ended up spending a big chunk of my time in tech working as a product manager. And then I knew that the next step for me was becoming an entrepreneur. I came across Antler's Entrepreneur in
Before we
Residence
even talk about
opportunity.
Antler, actually, what does a product manager do?
Yeah, so a PM is a function in a tech team that sits at the intersection between the business,
Mm-hmm.
tech, and the customer. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you've worked with engineers and you've allowed engineers to build things without a buffer, you'll know
Mm-hmm.
why that's important. The especially for really early stage teams and even for large tech teams,
Yeah.
you need to be intentional in the path that you're heading with tech. And so technology exists to solve a problem. And so product manager plays a role in defining what is the problem we're trying to solve, um, based off, the insights from talking to the customer.
Mm,
And as we understand that, what are the business goals that we're trying to achieve based off interfacing with the business? And then intersecting these two goals by thinking about how can we solve for this using technology.
yeah.
And so that's a simple way of describing it. But yeah, you'd basically like work with a. I had a cross-functional team I would lead with a designer, an engineer, and a business team stakeholder. And
Yeah.
so we got to build different products and scale them across Africa at ALX.
Amazing.
yeah, across different functions. That's what a product manager does. I think it's also really a really helpful role on a
Mm,
pathway to becoming a startup founder,
mm,
because you're a bit of a generalist. You're thinking
yeah.
about, tech, business, customer, but then it's also a bit of a niche in building a product. And one of your, I always say, a startup founder that's moving from 0 to 1 really needs to care about two things: product and business development. Because if you don't have those two things, then you are not going to be able to succeed in building a product.
Oh, we are having some internet issues. Oh wow. Hopefully he'll be able to get back on. But yeah, I think Lemma was sort of expounding about some of the two things that every founder needs to worry about. Um he's out there in Nairobi in Sarit Center. So I know maybe the internet may be a bit choppy. Oh, he's dropped off. Hopefully he'll be able to get back on. But yeah, this has been a really interesting conversation with him, sort of breaking down how he went from, law into tech. We've covered a bit of how he transitioned from working at one of the biggest law firms in Africa to being a product manager in at ALX and working with multiple departments. Oh, hi Lemuel, you're back.
Hey, sorry about that. Oh
It's
no,
okay.
where did you lose me?
I lost you where you are expounding about the two things every business owner, entrepreneur needs to be worrying about. And I think you mentioned business development, and I think the other thing was either product.
Product, yeah.
Mm,
And so, like, you need to create this solution that people value and are willing to pay for, and then you need to sell it,
mm,
right? And so, I think, doing product for me helped me with really that first part of it. And then also, because of the way of thinking about product in the context of business, you're not just thinking about, some product managers have a tendency to care a lot about the craftsmanship, like a really good, beautiful UI, and sort of like great user experience. But you need to sell it. You can have all of those things that look great, but like, if you're not thinking about how to get it in the hands of the customer and how they're paying for it, then you haven't really achieved your goal. And so I think that was really helpful in my founder journey.
okay. So now we can go back to the whole Antler entrepreneurship in residence. And this was in 2023. So take us back. How did you make the application? Were there call outs? And then, you getting rejected. How did that happen? And then having to sort of build a no code prototype. Yeah. Because a lot of people
Yeah,
go through
so
that, right?
yeah. So like I said, my plan was to eventually become an entrepreneur. And so
Mm-hmm.
I came across this opportunity to build through Antler, and I was like, well, my initial plan was to do grad school and then build a venture.
Yeah.
Just do grad school, raise a ton of money, and then build a venture. And then I got recruited into Antler's program. And then I was like, well, if the goal is to eventually build a startup, let me just start doing that now. Let me skip grad school and just go straight into it. And so I did the program. For those who don't know, Antler has a 3-month entrepreneur in residence program. So they're a day zero investor, which means they they take you pre-idea. Um, they just focus on like finding smart people, and
Mm-hmm.
then the thesis is like take really smart people, put them together,
Mm-hmm.
potentially make co-founder matches, and then get them to focus on big markets, and then they'll they'll get successful startups. And so yeah, I did the program, went through my 3 months, and I
Was
decided
that
I wanted
before or after the rejection?
I did the rejection was within the program.
Oh, so wait, so you get through the program,
Yeah.
and then
So
there's another.
Antler is yes. So Antler is different from like YC in that you and YC will recruit you and then immediately invest in you.
Mm,
Antler will recruit you, and you'll be an Antler. incubate team. And so I'm still an Antler founder in the sense that I sit at their offices, I have access to all the Antler spaces globally, but Antler didn't invest in my business. And so only one person actually got an investment in my cohort of 30. So it's really competitive, and it is a bet, right? And so it may not be the most strategic bet for some people. So we started my cohort as 30, and I think 10 people quit by week 2.
Wow,
So it
why?
is,
What happened?
yeah, there's some people who are like, I'm still working a job. I don't want to take the risk of quitting my job, and it's like I don't know whether or not I'm gonna get an investment, which is valid, right? Like there are people in there who had debt to pay, they had children to pay fees for, right? And so I have to acknowledge that one of the reasons why I took the leap to do Antler is because I was like really well positioned to do it in my life. I did not have debt. I did not have children. I didn't even have a girlfriend at the time. And so I was like, this is the only time in my life where like I'm have zero sort of like liabilities
Or
holding me back from
commitments? Yeah.
taking from taking this leap as an entrepreneur. And I think it's important for people as they map out their feasibility of doing entrepreneurship to think about those things, right? Like if you have, debt that's looming over you, and revenue is unpredictable, maybe it's not the best fit. I think those people who've taken the leap as entrepreneurs and figured it out, I have mad respect for that. So yeah, so I took the leap, and I knew it was gonna be a bet, and I didn't get an investment. That said, I also have to acknowledge that I chose a really hard path. So when I was doing Antler, I decided I wanted to explore church tech, which is like this interesting ecosystem in globally and especially in Africa.
Yeah.
Um, and it's something no one had really explored in Antler. And some whispers from people who knew Antler well from midway through the program told me, Lemuel, I don't think they're gonna write you a check because of the market that you're exploring. And yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm really convicted on this space. So with or without the investment, I still want to pursue it. And I
You know,
think that's gone a long way.
I definitely feel like there's such a huge market for church tech that has not been explored,
Yeah,
because faith and religion and church is such a staple on the continent.
it
Massive,
is.
massive, massive numbers, from devotees to the number of churches, and even not churches, just other religious spaces as well. And even the most, I think there are a couple of things. So when it comes to like tech, and the most immediate one is around like, you know, contributions or collections. And I've
Yeah,
seen how M-Pesa, which is, more commonly used everywhere in Kenya and East Africa, kind of like penetrating into churches. So churches have like pay bill, or you can send
yeah,
either your tithe or
yeah.
your Sunday.
Especially after COVID.
Yeah, but there could be space for still doing more in that space, because on this in this market, in the churches, like you'd find you don't really need to put like contribution in like a basket. You can just swipe at the back end of the church when you're leaving, or even your tithe can be automatically sort of set up so that it just goes to the church. So definitely there are things I feel that could be done. Even just what the pastors or the religious leaders, the tech that they could possibly use, because you've seen an emergence of pastors being very active on TikTok, for example. But
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
like
We have
the
a
tech thing in that space? What were you building for, or what were you hoping to build for, and what does the future in that space look like?
Yeah, I think so. Two interesting data points for me were the size of the population and its growth
Mm-hmm.
rate. So we have about 720 million Christians in sub-Saharan Africa.
Mm-hmm.
It's grown rapidly over the past century, and church attendance, religious devotion generally, including church attendance, is highest globally in Africa and South America.
Mm.
And when you look at the technology service providers in this space. Most of them are from North America. And so even locally, a lot of the mega churches that I was talking to in my research are like, yeah, we're using this tool that's American, we're paying, thousands of dollars in subscriptions for it. And many of those tools are not accessible to the local common church. And so I was really optimistic and still am about, building for now, probably like we have quarter of all the Christians globally are in Africa. So this is where increasingly like the hub of Christianity is becoming based off population. Um, hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, cool. Um, and there's no one really in the tech ecosystem who is thinking about like what are we doing to build for this local context for individual Christians, because like you say, there's a lot that happens outside of the church, right? And so, for example, the biggest church tech, Christian tech solution that exists is YouVersion, the Bible app that has this year they're gonna cross 1 billion downloads.
Mm.
I use
Wow,
it. It was
that's
also a big
impressive.
inspiration for me. It is. It is. And yeah, I think there are so many other solutions that are just in the ecosystem that haven't really been explored, or that aren't being explored. And so I was
Oh,
really
I've
excited
just
about it.
remembered actually. So I've remembered so I remembered somebody kind of mentioned an app. I actually have it right now on my phone. It
Uh
allows
huh.
you to find churches near you.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, so it's mapped out. It's mapped out. What's the name actually? Do I still have it? I think I do. Let me see. Yeah, so it maps
You
out.
see, there's such low hanging fruits like that. Like
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, so
it doesn't even have to be like a monetizable solution in this space. That a solution like that should just exist. Find a local church near you.
and it's free to use, and it allows you to find churches wherever you are, like you could be anywhere and you'll be able to find a church. It's really great for people who travel a lot. So if you're new in a space and you don't know like the churches around you, you just go on the app and you're able to find them instead of going on Google and typing church near me. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. So if people really travel, like multiple times a year, multiple times a month, and you want to sort of keep up with your church attendance or wherever, that's something to use. I think another solution could be also done for Muslims as well. I think it would still work. I think there's also space for Christian dating as well. I've seen a couple of Christian dating apps that are out there, even Muslim dating apps out there, and they have huge following. So I think there's a lot of tech and innovation that needs to be done. Lots of people are not
Nancy,
solving that
maybe you should build Christian tech.
maybe I should. Maybe I should. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So maybe we could talk a little bit then about what the three ventures, and how I want us to talk about the is you didn't have any technical background. You didn't have a technical co-founder, or you didn't have coding skills as well. And he's dropped again. Lemuel, you're back. Hopefully he's able to join us back again. Oh wow, this is going to be an interesting one. Yeah, I mean, if you're joining us, we were just talking about Jesus Tech and the various innovations or products that are kind of like low-hanging fruits, and we even mentioned a little bit about the different products we're seeing in the market. I think the first one was around the Bible online version that has over like 1 billion downloads, and we talked briefly as well about other products we're seeing in the market. One of them being an app that allows you to identify churches near you wherever you are. We also just briefly talked about dating apps specifically targeted to Christians or specifically targeted to Muslims that have kind of like a huge uptake that we're seeing. So it's interesting to see what else in terms of tech and innovation that exists in religious spaces and faith, and that can be um, you know, created. Yeah, so we were just really trying to go into how now Lemuel sort of got into the three ventures, because he doesn't have any technical or coding skills. And so I wanted to ask to discuss about the prototyping, how he was able to move from 0 to 1. So I don't know if we'll be able to get Lemuel back on. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And this is the second time he's dropped off, I think because of the internet. Oh goodness. Goodness. Let's see if we're able to get him back on. Oh, I thought today would be a smooth um session, but clearly the internet had other plans. So as we wait for him to join us, I don't know if hi Lemuel. There you are. So
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Are you have you joined us in a different device?
No. Does it look different?
It does, but it's okay. That's fine. I'll just remove it.
Cool. I think you had asked about the building the three ventures,
Yeah.
and you were explaining how you want me to approach it.
Yes. 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 And you
Hmm.
could also discuss briefly about even the prototyping, because you don't have any background in coding, you didn't have any technical skills as well. So yeah, really, really curious about how you went about that.
Yeah. So um, let me start with Faith Foundry. So because we were talking about that last, Faith
Mm,
Foundry has evolved to now become more of a non-profit, a community, and an incubator. And so the pathway of supporting um, other builders has been triggered through Faith Foundry now, realizing that the space there is very impact oriented. There's definitely potential to monetize, but in the way I want to approach it is more of an impact kind of play for me. It's like the legacy I want to have in my career is building out that ecosystem. And there's not a lot of support for people who are building Jesus Tech in the continent. And I would love to play a role in like deploying capital, supporting entrepreneurs with data. There's a lot of data that has not been collected on the church, on individual Christians, and there's a role we can play there in equipping them with data, being a studio that helps them build products, launch them, get to market, etc. I think that took me about like a year or like six months to a year to figure out in terms of the approach I want to take there.
mm-hmm,
One of the spin-offs from Faith Foundry is General Circle.
mm-hmm,
So General Circle is like one of the monetize. You could say it's like our first incubatee from Faith Foundry, and it's one of the monetizable ideas from exploring the church tech space. We now most of our customers are actually not churches. Um, Essentially, what we do at Generous is we help people raise money. And in 2024, one of the ways we did that was through crowdfunding. And so I built a no-code crowdfunding product myself. I think having proximity to building tech previously in my roles as a product manager helped me figure it out. And even for folks who've not worked as product managers, if you're a solo founder, there are ways to figure it out. Um, it's not easy, but it has been super helpful to have a really deep understanding of every single step the user goes through in the journey because you've had to build it yourself. Even if you have a technical co-founder, I would encourage every founder that's non-technical to still get their hands dirty and and go through it, learn it, step
Mm.
by step, test it, give feedback, etc. And
What tools
so,
did you use?
um, as many no-code tools I used. I shout out to Framer. That's what I used a lot. So it's a really solid design tool, but there are ways to stitch together your front end with Framer and like back end tools like let's say forms that are linked to sheets. So if you're building a waitlist, for example, you can embed a form and link it to a sheet, and you've collected the data that you need to onboard a customer, for example. And then just have a waiting period between the customer sharing data and you getting back to the customer with what they're looking for, depending on the type of product that you're building. So for us, that was our customers wanted to publish a fundraising campaign page. And
Mm-hmm.
so stitched together the forms and then we published for them campaign pages after 24 hours. It was really slow. It was really painful. It was really manual.
But
It
24
got to
hours
a
is
point
not
where it
too
was really
bad,
annoying.
It's not too
It,
bad.
yeah,
24 hours
it's
is not
not.
too bad.
It's not. Yeah. So you just figure it out. So that's the journey I had to go through with Generous.
Cool.
And now we've pivoted. But yeah, even that is based off like having really close proximity to the product and the user and thinking about what they care about. Because one of the things we did with Generous is we priced it based off success. So like we only make money if they make money because of transaction percentages being our business model. And so for us to make money, we need to build a really good product in helping them make money. And so, yeah, that's Generous. And the last venture, Africa Product Pairs, actually started 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
3 years ago this week. It was a community. It was not a business. It was a passion project. And a week before I joined the Antler program was where first time I actually made revenue from Africa Product Pairs through a workshop that we ran. And it's funny how with that insight, after making revenue, completely ditched that for like a few months. I did not do anything else with Africa Product Pairs. I was like, no, let me join this accelerator program and focus on building a software startup. And the reason I mention that is because right now, Africa Product Pairs is maybe like 60% of my time. Is because I I think the insight that we got there around revenue paired with the approach that we took to building that is what's been really effective for me as a founder today, and that's having a community. If you're building B2B product, you're looking to in year one maybe get your first 50 customers. If you're looking to do a B2C product, you're looking for 1,000 customers. Right now with Africa Product Pairs, in a given month, we engage um, thousands of our members through socials, through emails, and we engage about 500 in person through our events. And so it's not apples to apples because selling them some of these other solutions may not entirely equate to software. But now we're looking at launching software at Africa Product Pairs, tied to the value proposition that we sell our community through our events and our programs. And we have this massive launchpad to get off the ground. And so, yeah, people in other markets may tell you to focus in a different way, but I think that's what we found is super practical on the continent, being able to make revenue through other things that are related to the value proposition that the software will sell, and then keep selling to your customer. Each month we sell them things. It's just not software, but
Yeah.
we figured out how to sell.
Yeah. But I think you've mentioned a very important thing around community. Because when you have the numbers, you have the people, you're able either to sell or not even sell, but you have access to people to try all your products, to figure out what's working, what's not working, get real time feedback and real time kind of even figure out if people want this particular product or service that you're selling. And I've seen a lot of corporates and brands now getting into the whole wave of community. Now it's almost like a trend, you know but it's very
Yeah,
vital.
yeah. Communities are core to growth. core to retention as well. And so, yeah, I think every early stage founder should be thinking about how you can build a community around. I think for me, what's remained constant, even as a pivoted product, is the customer profile has always been the same. And so once you know that I don't know what problem statement it is, I don't know what the product is, but I know this is the market that's big enough and interesting enough for me to solve for. Let's build a community around that and try different things. Like if you want your software, for example, the software we're launching with Africa Product Fairs this week helps people get jobs. And we also have an event every month, a recruitment mixer that solves the same problem for them, getting a job. And so if you build a community and you figure out what your community members care about, and you sell them things that correlate with what you think they care about, that's really strong insight. And so when you sell your software, then you're likely to be successful.
Amazing. I'd love you to expound a little bit more about General Circle. I know you touched on it a little bit more around, how you even started as crowdfunding, but where is General Circle at right now, and what are you exploring? Are there any different iterations? Because I think some time back when we were talking, you were even sort of thinking about integrating fundraising by schools, fundraising by charities back on the continent, and linking them with the global north and the diaspora as well. So yeah, I'm quite curious to learn a little bit more about Jonas Sacco. I think you're being modest. You're not talking about it as much, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So generous thesis was like you have very important causes on the continent to support, and
Mm-hmm.
you have willing supporters across the world, and you need a platform to connect the two. And so crowdfunding is one of the solutions that exists to solve that problem. Most people are familiar with GoFundMe, for example, but we
True.
think that it's just scratching the surface in terms of solving the problem of connecting a supporter and a cause. So one of the big thematic focus areas for us in Generous has been education and supporting people with learning. Because it's a really easy mission to support. Like we believe every young person on the continent who is able to access education should not be held back because of money. If it's school fees, let's figure it out. And a lot of people who are in the diaspora also really love to support causes like that. Same thing locally. So, for example, last year we had a campaign of it was interesting. They were raising awareness for the cause through a motorcycle ride around Africa, and we were the crowdfunding solution for that. And the money that was being raised through the campaign was going to a school endowment fund. And when we explored this, we found there's so many ways to play around with the call to action to give. It's not just donate; it's also maybe buy merchandise, right? And so, in in markets like Nigeria, for example, people like to support causes through an exchange. They know that maybe I'm gonna buy this jacket for 10 times more than it would cost if I bought it at a store, but because it's
We've lost Lemuel again. I think that's our cue for us to start wrapping up the session. Hopefully, we'll be able to get him back. Oh, okay, let's give him a few minutes for him to sort of get back on. But we were kind of discussing a little bit more about General Circle and sort of the nuances of it and the different ways to utilize it. And Lemuel was going into how they were the official sort of crowdfunding for a particular fundraising, and there was a motorcycle around Africa, and it was for charity. And he had even gone into expounding how various markets interact with crowdfunding, and talk briefly about Nigeria, how they would prefer to sort of support charity, but in a exchange sort of format. So whether be it buying a jacket that's 10 times more than you'd find in the marketplace, but they're able to have something that's tangible, which is very interesting. So it's always for me very interesting learning about various markets and the way they interact with various products and services. Yeah, hopefully we're able to get Lemuel back. um I don't know if it's going to be able to log in, but I think it's the internet that's proving quite difficult. Yeah, so as we wait for Lemon, I think I'll be very curious as well for anybody that's watching this live. How have you interacted? Have you interacted with Jesus Tech? And if you have, what sort of innovation or products or services or tech or software have you interacted with? I think for me, like I'd mentioned, there's this app I have where you're able to have a look at churches near you. So wherever you are, they've mapped out the different churches. You don't need to go and like type in churches near me, but like it has a map and literally you can see the various churches. And I'd also expounded a little bit more about what we're seeing in terms of even dating. So dating apps having specific religious inclinations. So like Christian dating apps, Muslim dating apps. I don't know if there's one for other religions, but yeah. So that's also quite interesting. Hi Lemuel, welcome
Hi.
back.
I don't know what's going on today. Thank you.
You've broken the record for the number of drop-offs today.
I thought Salma was gonna retain
You guys are
the
making Kenya
record.
look some type of way. Come on, guys. Come on.
We'll blame Ruto.
Goodness. Okay, cool. I think you were sort of telling us or sharing with us how you were partnering with was it a charity? And you were like the official crowdfunding solution for them, and they were doing like motorcycling across
Yeah.
Africa. Yeah, and you were also sort of talking about how different markets interact with crowdfunding. So you'd mentioned how Nigeria, they prefer a situation where there's a bit of like an exchange, and you have people opting to either purchase like a jacket or something that's 10 times more than the market price. And now he's dropped off again. Goodness. Oh goodness. Wow. Does it Lemon is breaking the record for the number of drop-offs on a live. Should be interesting. But we're about to wrap up. So when it comes back, I think we'll just do a couple of final remarks and then wrap it up for today. Yeah, let me see if there are any questions actually on LinkedIn because I wasn't monitoring. Oh, you're back.
Heating from being in the sun, so I've switched locations.
Lemuel, what is this? What is
I don't
this?
know. I don't know. Oh
Anyway,
man. Okay,
okay,
this should be
okay,
good now.
yeah,
Yeah, I think I was talking about generous. I'll summarize by saying, yeah, I think knowing what the the customer wants here has
hmm
been harmful for us. They want
yeah,
to raise money. And so we need to figure out how we build a product that effectively solves our problem, changing the call
Mhm.
to action, and also figuring out what holds them back from what holds back supporters from giving money. In education, people want to trust that the money is going where it's meant to go. And so even building solutions that send money directly to schools as opposed to sending them to sort of like the fundraiser. And then now in the current form of generous, also thinking about what is the biggest form of funding this customer can get. And so
Yeah.
right now, one of the things that we're pivoting to is helping people raise grant funding. That's for this same customer the biggest source of potential funding, getting a grant that potentially $1 million, right? $1 million plus, as opposed to crowdfunding in the tens of thousands of dollars. And so, yeah, just knowing what the North Star is here has been really helpful for us.
Okay, cool. Well, because the internet wants us to wrap up, I'm going to do a few quick questions as we wrap up the conversation today. And yeah, I think, okay, let's see. Let's see. I have my questions here somewhere. Oh, cool. I think I'll just ask one. In terms of predictions, what would you say is your boldest prediction for African startups by 2030? Will we still be on the AI wave, or will we be seeing something different?
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more African startups building for a global market.
Mm,
Um, I think there are a lot of smart people on the continent, and we want to make revenue. And making revenue on the continent is feasible, but you don't just have to build for Africa. You can build for the world. And so you're going to see a lot more competition from African startups positioning their solutions for global markets.
amazing. And you've also done quite well because I know you've been representing your various ventures across the globe. I think at some point I saw you in Morocco or Egypt, and I think maybe at some point you're also in Europe. So kudos to you. Definitely rooting for you, and everything that you're doing, definitely aligned as well in terms of community fast enterprises or community fast ventures. Just network, we're all about community, trying to bring together the diaspora and also supporting the diaspora in connecting them to the continent, be it from talent, investment, entrepreneurship. So yeah, definitely resonate with the story and with your journey. And yeah, that's it from me, Lemuel. Thank you so much for showing us what innovation looks like and how you don't really have to wait. And to everyone listening, if you're holding back because you think you need funding, a tech co-founder, or the right connections, you don't. Sometimes it's very, very helpful, but you don't. And build something, test it out, put a call out, get people to register, do pre-orders, anything, and you'll be able to see what people are able to, one, whether they like your product, and whether it's viable. If you want to learn more about Lemuel's work, you can check out General Circle, Faith Foundry, and Africa Peer Products.
Product peers.
Africa Product Peers.
you can you you can also just follow me. I'll post about all of them regularly.
True.
And yeah, just about my founder journey.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me, Nancy, and
Amazing.
kudos to you for everything amazing you're doing at Jasiri.
Yeah.
Looking, when
The
is the
Siri
next
network. It's
Jasiri
not just
event?
Siri, because
Jasiri network.
you're
There's
a
a few
lawyer.
Jasiris, right?
You're a
Yes.
lawyer. We don't
Wh-
want to get into some sticky things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When is the next Jasiri network event happening in Kenya?
Wow, so we will be back on the continent in December. Again, with
Okay.
diaspora, they're home in December, most of them. So it just makes sense for us to do one in December. And this time around, we're doing things differently. So we're bringing a bit more lively events alongside the more serious conversation, about investment and whatnot. And I'm quite excited to see what we're able to do in that space. And we have a various events, one towards more networking, socializing, which is like a mixer on the 3rd of December. Then we have a business breakfast for people like you and others who are in business and targeting the diaspora market or building for diaspora to sort of come together, connect, talk with these audiences, and even partner and collaborate. Because I mean, you reached out to me on LinkedIn, and that's how we were able to sort of build
Yeah.
the rapport and get to this point. So it's very important, I feel, for business founders, for business owners to engage. And then we now have the summit on the 11th, and an after party as well, this time round, because with Kenyans, they love a good time, and not just
They
Kenyans,
love to party.
Africans, we love a good time, and everybody in December just wants a good time. So
That sounds really exciting. Do you guys have a way for people to sign up yet, or that's still
yeah,
save the?
I
We
mean,
just need to save the date.
you can follow me everywhere I talk about it. There's our website, just Network, and yeah, that's mostly it.
I'm
But thank you so
I'm
much,
looking forward to
Lemuel.
all of that.
Yeah, we have to wrap it up. I think this has been a really interesting conversation with surprises from our internet, but all is
Yes,
well. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, that's it from me.
that's it for me. Bye for now, everyone.
Bye.